be hosted by Haochen, and it's going to be on AR development on mobile devices. So I hope you all received that announcement that Hao mentioned about some software to install ahead of time. So this is just for if you want to follow his demo as the development goes, but I guess it's not.
It's not necessary for you to follow along.
It's optional. So I guess most of the session during today's workshop will be Haochen will be can go through the technical aspect about developing AR application on mobile phone, and then the second half will be going through a hands-on demo about some of the key functionalities and also how to handle the reality ARKit on iOS operating system. So I'd also like to introduce our specialist in C2X, and if they are looking for more technical specialists, so I want so he will share the hiring information, and I'm also going to share the information in the Blackboard announcement.
Thank you. So my name is Liam Griffiths. I'm the library supervisor here. So I manage the physical space, the virtual space, as well as the student workers. Speaking of student workers, we're looking to hire about 2 potential students, and we're looking for people who have Unity, Blender skills, as well as strong community service skills. We're currently getting ready for Mel Weekend, so we're still receiving applicants up until like October 3rd, I believe. So if you're interested in this position, please apply. It's currently on JobLink. I'm forgetting the exact code, but we could.
I'm going to share that link and the email from the Blackboard.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, feel free to stop by and after the class and then ask for more details. All right. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Haochen now.
Okay, so before we start, does anyone not have an iPhone or an iPad and want to borrow one of the iPads that we have here? Okay, so we only have 2. So there you go. All set? Okay, so welcome. This is Intro to AR Development for CSC216. I am the TA, Haochen, and so before we get started, so hopefully if you want to follow the demo along, you should download Reality Composer on your iPhone or iPad. And I'm not exactly sure if we have Reality Composer on the iPads that we have in the space, so Leanne and Ryan, right? You guys should be checking and see if you have or have not downloaded the app. So there is a requirement that the things that we're doing today. So I am running iPad OS 16 with Xcode 14 on my Mac. You should be having at least iOS or iPad OS 15.5, and that's going to work with Xcode 13. The thing about the system requirements is that it's not backwards compatible. So if you have an iPad OS 16 or iOS 16, you cannot work with Xcode 13, so you can't go back. But for Xcode 14, you can develop for iPad OS 15.5. So that's just like a system requirement thingy. I know some of you guys probably don't want to update your phone's operating system. Sorry about that. But if you are having trouble while doing assignments or stuff and don't want to upgrade your phone system OS, you can always just come to C2X, and we have the iPads and stuff for you. Okay, so the thing we're going to talk about today is augmented reality. Does anyone want to just quick raise up your hands? Want to explain what is augmented reality real quick? No one, perfect. Okay, so it's fine. So usually when people talk about augmented reality, right, what we really means is we're talking about objects augmented reality. We're having a digital object augmented into the real world. That's what we're usually referring to. But there's also some other different aspects that people aren't mentioning a lot, which is audio augmented reality. I'm just going to touch on this real quick because there's something happening. And when people usually, when you're like wearing headphones or when you're listening to music, watching shows or stuff, you usually have this binaural effect, like a binaural audio sound that coming from your headphones, right? So you have one on the left, one on the right, and the way you tilt your head, the sound is going to follow you. So it's this sort of creating this 360-degree environment for you to hear the sound coming from different directions. And there are also some other new ways for not binaural, but like fully 3D audio. So there's like a quick video.
Music is about to change forever. We're leaving stereo behind and entering the next dimension in sound with spatial audio featuring Dolby Atmos. A premium audio experience where sound moves around you, above you, and behind you. All included in your Apple Music subscription.
So the difference between spatial audio and like the standard binaural audio that we're referring to is that for spatial audio, when you move your head, the sound is going to stay at the same location. Yeah, sorry.
Can you unmute your...
Hello. Okay, good thing we have the quick play recording. So that, and so usually what we're referring to is that so as I was saying, hide names of notation floating meeting controls. Perfect. So where was I? 360 audios. So usually the thing about Dolby Atmos or spatial audio is that it's imitating the experience you will have at a cinema, right? So for instance, if you're at a cinema, you're at the movie theater, you are looking at the screen in the front. If you tilt your head, the sound is going to come still from the screen, not from the way you move your head. For regular binaural audios, the thing is that the sound is going to move with you, no matter where you move your head. But for spatial audio, it's going to stay at the same location. That's the key difference. So people are doing lots of experiments and lots of research, as well as lots of implementation on this kind of field as well. I just want to mention this because at CDUX there is a VR. There's like a 360 audio workshop tomorrow in here, I think. At 1 p.m. So if anyone is interested, you should be checking this out. Okay, so let's go back to objects augmented reality. So objects augmented reality, we divide this into 3 words. With objects, 3D objects plus animation. For augmented is detect surfaces, walls, and anchors. And reality is how we're going to combine those and put objects into a measured reality. So let's start with objects. So usually when people talk about objects, like think about something something that exists in the real world, and you want to bring the object into the digital world. What does the object have? There are some properties, right? So the object has a look, it has the materials on it, transformation, animation, spatial audio, and physics. So these are all the things that we want to consider while bringing those things into into AR. And usually for what we do with objects, many people may have already know, we use 3D modeling software such as Blender or Maya. And today we're going to look at something else, something called Reality Composer, which is a 3D modeling, like a super simple 3D modeling app developed by Apple that can easily bring your 3D model to AR, because for other two, it's only merely just like a 3D object development, like a designing tool. That one can actually implement the thing into like a actual AR environment. Okay, so the files that you created in Reality Composer is in the format of .reality. It can also be transformed into .usdz, which USDZ, many of you guys have probably know, it's like a standard open source format. Does anyone know who invented USDZ? No? Liam? No? Okay, so USDZ is invented by Pixar, which is the Pixar studio and Disney, and they open sourced the USDZ format in, I think, 2016, and it's been a super popular format ever since. So as you can see here, the .usdz files you can easily implement and then send it to anyone using different platforms or different ways. So it can be easy, especially because it's developed by Pixar. It has very good Apple compatibility, so you can just send it. You can view it on Safari or News or any of these, like even messages that can super easy for you to take a look at the model. For .reality, the models that you create with Reality Composer, it is usually used for ARKit as well as development for Xcode. Okay, this is just like another quick demo for how you're going to implement USDZ. So Apple has a thing called AR Quick Look, which is basically built into most of the Apple softwares and stuff. And for instance, if you all you need, for instance, if you're writing like a web page, and you want to have an AR experience built into your website, all you have to do is basically have that line, so href equals test.usdz. That's all you need for you to write into your HTML file. And if you use the AR Quick Look on Safari, usually on your iPhone or iPad, you can have like a super quick glance at what the model will look like. Unfortunately, this is not supported on Google Chrome or some other browsers, but it has very good Apple compatibility. Any questions so far? No? Okay, perfect. So, okay, the first thing we're going to do is going to have a quick demo for building objects in Reality Composer. So, I have some cheat notes here. So if you want, you can bring up your iPhone or iPad. I'm going to have it right here. Everything seems to be working. Okay. So I am running iPad OS 16, and I have the Reality Composer app right here. So I'm just tap that to open. You will have something like this. Not very intuitive, I would say. But the first thing you're going to do is to create a document. And you can see that file is created. And the first thing is going to ask you to choose an anchor. So the thing about Reality Composer is that it's not only a 3D modeling tool, it's deeply related to building experiences for AR. So it will start with not with the 3D modeling part, but more from the AR experience. So where do you want to have the anchor? We have horizontal, you want to place it on the table. Have the vertical on the wall, an image, usually for fixed locations, a face, or an object. So we have plenty of time for us to play around with multiple of these anchors. So I'm just going to start from the first one, right? So I'm going to start with horizontal anchor. And the first thing you're going to see is a screen like this. This is super similar to like other 3D modeling softwares that you see, like Blender. And what we have here is we have a menu bar that doesn't, it's called scenes. Basically, this is like you can have multiple scenes in one single file, right? So you want to have one, you want to have the other one, and this one can be like a face anchor, and that one can have like a vertical anchor. So I'm going to want to start with the first one. And you see on the right, there are multiple buttons. So there's the add button, there's a plus. That brings you a content library of lots of the things. So there are lots of built-in 3D models that you can just implement into your Reality Composer. So we can just take a quick look. We have some super easy shapes, text, arrows, signs and stuff. This is, and lots of other stuff. So checkers, chess for some reason, balls, sports, just lots of stuff. This is super handy if you are trying to prototype something real quick in AR. So for instance, what we're going to do is, for instance, if we want to decorate the room, right? How about that? So we want to see we want to add some furniture to Studio X and see how that looks like. So I'm just gonna go scroll down to places. No, let's storage. Okay, perfect, storage. So I want to see what this space look like with a shelf. So I'm going to click on storage and then click a shelf. And you can see the shelf is added to the scene. And it's got like the Apple library has all the materials and everything on it. So it's pretty clear, but you can also model it yourself. So I'm just gonna quickly get rid of the ones that it comes with the block and the text and get rid of those. And I'm going to add another thing, probably like another elevator. Why not? So we're gonna have super tiny elevator over here and change the scale, right? So there are lots of menus on the right you can change. So for instance, we can have transformation, the location, the position, the rotation, the scale, how big or how small the thing will be. We can have a super tiny elevator, or we can have a super big elevator. So let's just have the elevator right here, just for fun. And then we'll place it on the ground. And the good thing about this is you can preview in AR. So I'm just gonna click on the AR button on top right. And you see it is on. And I'm going to place it right there. And you can kind of see the shelf. The shelf is about the good size, right? The shelf is like a standard real life size. As for the elevator is pretty tiny. But you see how you can have one super simple 3D model that can be easily implemented into AR just for some quick prototyping and see what it looks like. So many of the AR experiences that you guys researched and discovered, for instance, like the IKEA place, right? This is pretty similar to that and just super easy to implement. So you can also walk closer, right? So I want to see what's inside the elevator. You know what? I can't quite get in there, but I'm gonna close that. So this is pretty easy, and you can move things around and stuff. And okay, so that's for the horizontal. And the next one, we probably want to try out the vertical. Vertical usually means something you want to put onto the wall, right? So for instance, what I can have, you can already see like the built-in one is like a shelf thingy, but I don't want a shelf. I want to have, for instance, I want to have a poster. I want to see what the poster look like. So I'm just gonna delete these stuff real quick and add a poster. Hopefully they have a poster. Nope. Let me just call art. There you go. Okay. So I have this frame thingy over there. I can change the scale. Just want to see what it looks like in my room. And just point, sorta, move iPad to start. There you go. And you can kind of see the thing. Now the anchor is the wall. So this thing is onto the wall. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to show you is behaviors. So this is cool for 3D modeling and stuff. This is super simple. You can just drag and drop things and see it in real world. But you probably want to have some features or some behaviors that you want to add to the model. For instance, I want to have a Pokemon, and if I tap the Pokemon will squeeze or it will run away, stuff like that. So that is a thing that we can add behaviors to it. That's why it exists. So first thing first, for instance, I'm going to build a Rube Goldberg machine. How about that? So a Rube Goldberg machine, if you don't know, is a series of mechanisms that will perform a simple task in a super complicated way. So for instance, all those fancy TikTok videos of having one ball going around the entire room just to land into like a cup, stuff like that. So for instance, if I'm going to build that, I'm going to add a ball, colored, right there, and I'm going to add some planks. So I'm just going to have a shape right here. Oh, too big. And I can change the size of it, right? So I can, I don't remember how to change the size. Oh, there you go. Okay. So I want to make it a plank for the balls to land on it. I can drag this all the way here and a little longer. This looks pretty good. And I also kind of want to rotate the thing, so I can just grab and then move it over here. And now when we see it from the side, if we played the video, the ball will hopefully land on the plank and move down. So I'm just gonna duplicate another one and move it over here and then rotate a little bit so the ball will go down the first plank and land on the second one and eventually just go down, right? So our idea is when we hit the play button, the ball will fall down onto the first plank and then the second plank eventually fall down to the ground, right? So if I hit play, if I hit AR, I want to see it in real life, right? I have the anchor. It's over there. And I want to hit play. You see the ball isn't moving. Why is that? Yeah, so gravity is one thing, right? So that is something under scene physics. So if you tap the settings button over there, you can see there's the anchors that we selected, and there's the scene physics that we want to look at. So when you take a look at this, you realize that there are lots of stuff that you can actually play around with. So for instance, you can have the objects collide with plane, and you can select different materials, right? So for instance, if right now I'm not selecting anything. For instance, if I select the ball, and I want to change the physics. Oh, okay. The first thing we want to select is to participate. Right now, the ball does not have any physics or anything, so it cannot interact with the other objects in the scene. So what we want is to tap on participate first, And now you can see there's a drop-down menu that has everything. So it has motion type, materials, collision shape. So what we want is probably, we don't want the ball to be fixed. We want the ball to be dynamic. We want it to move. So I'm going to select the motion type. I'm going to select dynamic. So now hopefully the ball will move. You can see the ball actually fall down right there, right? So what we have to do is basically we want to add the physics to all the other items as well. So we're going to tap on the plank, and I'm going to participate in the physics, and this time I'm going to have it fixed because we want to have the plank on the same location. Otherwise, this thing will just fall with the gravity. So we want to have it over there, and collision type shape a box is fine. So now if we hit play, you see the ball will fall off that plank. And another one, just to do it real quick, probably the same thing. And you know what? I decided to add a cup at the bottom. And rotate just a little bit. So hopefully this ball will fall into the cup we have at the bottom. Let's see. Transform scale. I want to have a big cup, so it's easy for the ball to fall in. Right. You have to participate in physics. Oh, it's already participated in physics. Perfect. So, how about that? So let's play. You see, this is the part with something wrong with the 3D model. So the 3D model, even though it looks like it's hollow on the inside of the cup, it's not. So when you play the ball and it lands onto the cup, it actually goes away, which is not in the cup. So that's something. When we should consider while building like a 3D model thing. So like if we want to have some information or we want to have some functionalities, we want to make sure that it also works with some other 3D objects in the scene. So that is that. And I'm going to, And next one we have image. So an image anchor is super good if you want to have an experience on a fixed location, right? So for instance, if you have a comic book or like a book for children, and you want to have this kind of AR experience for the children too, they're holding their smartphone and they want to see what's more except for the images on the book, you can have that. So what I did is I printed out an anchor. This is like a literal anchor. I'm gonna use this as the image anchor. I'm gonna place it onto the table, right? So after I click on the image anchor, you can see I have a different thing. So you can have there's an image thingy at the bottom, and I can select the image assets to set the anchor. So which photos do I want to use in order for all the other 3D models to locate themselves? So I'm just gonna choose, and I'm gonna import the image. Okay. There you go. So I have the image right here. Just gonna drag and drop. Please don't crash, please don't crash, please don't crash. Okay, there you go, perfect. So now you can see the image is the anchor. It is a bit too big, just to make it a little bit smaller. And now when I want to place some objects onto the anchor, I can just hit AR. And I want to find the anchor. Right now it doesn't have the anchor, right? So you can see it's not placing the 3D object as the other anchors does. So there's no anchor here, but what if I have this anchor right here? I'm gonna place it over there. Aha, you can see now this object is anchored to the image. So imagine you have a comic book and you want to have these experiences. This can be a very, very helpful and very easy way for you to kind of see what it looks like. And this thing still doesn't have to be like a fixed 3D object. It can have an animation. It can have some motions to it just to make things more spicy. Okay, so that is image. And the last thing we want to show real quick is the face anchor. This is just super easy. You don't have to do anything. So you can kind of see there's already a face model built in. So this is going to be your face, and you can add stuff to it. And the code is also available online if you want to see how Apple does the thing with its face tracking stuff. I don't think so. About Apple devices is that there are some requirements for the hardware. So for instance, this one iPad has a thing called Face ID. There's like a thing that scans your face. But if you have like an older model, it may not have the hardware to support this thing. So some of this experiences is not available on all the iPads or iPhones and stuff. But this one, luckily does. So I'm gonna turn it on. You can kind of see my face, right? And you can kind of see the Hello World thingy over there. And if I point it to some other people, probably it will work as well. But this is like super easy if you want to do also like some Snapchat filters or Snapchat whatever. This is also doable. Other softwares have a similar experience to this one. Let's click, close that one. And the last thing we're going to showcase is object. Okay, object on here it says anchor your experience to a scanned object. What does this mean? So for instance, you know how we're always talking about how AR can reduce the training costs for multiple like engineering stuff. For instance, this is like a repairman is going to repair some plumbings or just repair some electrician repairing for some wires and stuff, and has to go through all the training and everything. This can be super good because, for instance, if I want to point your smartphone onto like a panel thingy, instead of doing all the training and everything, there is going to be an AR experience that basically shows all the stuff happening on the panel, and the person doesn't have to go through the training and just to follow the steps on the experience to save lots of money and just to accelerate the entire thing. So what we have right here is I'm going to find something I can scan. Can someone grab me the sanitizing wipes can in the back? Yeah, that's the only thing I tested before coming here, so hopefully this thing will work. This one actually requires more work. This one is not as simple as just dragging and then seeing everything. This thing first requires a scanning activity. So you want to go to the settings. You can kind of see on the right there is an AR object asset, right? So now it says no selection. So what we want to do is want to create this AR object asset. So I'm going to choose, and I'm going to scan. You can also import your 3D model if you want to have, if you want to use like existing experience. So I'm going to scan real quick, and this is how the screen will look like. And you can kind of see it's detecting the surface, right? So if I put it onto a wall, it doesn't do anything. I'm sorry. So now I have the can, and you can kind of see the lines are thicker at the bottom compared to the other side because I haven't scanned on the other sides. So I'm gonna rotate the view so that it follows me. Oh, I have to click scan first. There you go. Now it's yellow. Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna go around and we'll take a picture here, right? And see over here. Over here, missed a little bit there, here, and the last part. It is blurry, right? I'm not blind. One more. Okay, perfect. Now I scan. So capture the top of your object, go to the top. I'm gonna take a picture. And perfect. Now it says successfully generated AR reference object. I'm going to review, and you can see it finds the objects over there. So now I can do, what's it called, AR object? Now I can do is basically, I can just add stuff to it, right? So for instance, if we want to have a Coke next to it, and I play AR, you can kind of see, it doesn't have anything right now because I'm not pointing at the can. But if I move it over here, you can see the can is right next to the sanitizing wipes, and it's got this thing on top. So this one is using Apple's own object scanning feature. They also have multiple different methods of scanning. So there's a new one that came up came out last year actually at WWDC called photogrammetry. So I think many of you guys probably already know photogrammetry. There's an API for that, for you to scan the objects real quick and then implement into AR, which is super quick and cool. So that is all for the objects demo. Perfect. So now we're done with the objects, right? We talked about 3D objects and animations. You can, after you have the 3D objects, you can create these animations and implement them into Reality Composer. Super easy, super quick. Next part, we're going to talk about not about augmented. We're going to talk about reality. Yeah. So, what is reality? In this image, these are all the drawings. They're not reality. What is reality? The notebook at the bottom and the drawing on the back on the wall. That is reality, right? So what this does is that the phone or the iPad you're using, the hardware, is using ARKit or ARCore for Google and ARKit for Apple. Is that it's using these toolkits to have like an understanding of your environment before they can place any of the 3D objects. So specifically for ARKit, is doing surface estimation, camera calibration, feature detection, scene understanding, computer vision, tracking, nonlinear optimization, triangulation. So all those stuff is ARKit is able to do. And this thing, you guys talked about this last week about different tracking techniques. For Apple specifically, there's optical tracking and there's spatial mapping. So optical tracking is the ones on older iPhones, or I think there are some modern iPhones as well, is that they don't have they use their cameras, they use computer vision to identify and to recognize the environment. For spatial mapping is that they have this kind of smart Pro iPhones that has like a thing in the back called a LiDAR scanner that's able to project millions of points onto the surface, and based on the points detected, it's able to calculate the distance between the scanned object to the phone, which has a better and a faster environment scanning, basically. So this one, as you can see, is spatial mapping. You can kind of see there are lots of dots projected onto the surfaces over here, so it's able to recognize the environment super quickly. The other one, optical tracking, usually takes some time. So you probably, if you have used the Measure app on your iPhone before, you probably see this screen a lot. It asks you to move your phone, trying to look for look at your environment, just to try to find the anchor. That's what the optical tracking used to do. So the spatial mapping is usually faster and more advanced. So tracking, so what we're using with ARKit for reality is specifically tracking and scene understanding. I did something bad. Okay, so we have the phone, we have the environment, right? So the phone, so wait, hold up. So we want to do tracking, we also want to do scene understanding. So specifically for tracking, we're using the phone, and the scene understanding, we're understanding the environment. What does the phone does? The phone provides position and orientation of where you held the device, and for the environment, it has a plane or has a surface and it has lights. Those are the attributes that we're looking for, and how we're using those, or how the phone is using its position and orientation, and combine all those together to have this kind of reality, the understanding of the reality. So this is just like a super simple image how this thing usually works is that, for instance, we want to understand this image, right? We want to understand this scene. So what the phone does is that it's actually calculating and then trying to find these critical points on different objects and the environment. So you can kind of see there's like a frame thingy on the wall. It's able to locate lots of the points, key points over there, and as well as windows and corners over there. I believe the green ones means the green and yellow and the red colors means the confidence. So the greener is more confidence and the red is less confidence. And usually after we have all these critical points, we're going to triangulate the points that we have. So that means connecting the dots, and then connecting the dots with lines and forming these triangles. And usually the more the triangle, the more accurate the scanning of the scanning of the object or the scanning of the environment. Any questions so far? Cool. And so now we're going to talk about augmented. So augmented, I don't know why this image is here, to be honest. So usually with augmented, there are multiple toolkits from Apple that you can use. Today we're specifically looking at Reality Kit, but there are also others called, like for instance, like Sprite Kit, Scene Kit, or Metal, which is like a graphics accelerator that helps with the Sprite Kit, Reality Kit, and Scene Kit. So today we're looking at Reality Kit. What it does, they do rendering, animation, physics, and entity component system, ECS. I'm going to explain ECS later, but there's like a graph that shows you what the system will look like. So let's just go over all the stuff. So rendering, that is pretty straightforward, I believe. If any one of you guys have experience with 3D modeling, you know what rendering is. You can kind of see there are some different materials and different renderings, lights and stuff projected onto the ball, which will be placed onto the 3D object. Animation, also pretty simple, just a little like a GIF thingy that will move and guide the 3D object to move. And physics, so what ARKit does with physics is that it includes collision detection, rigid body dynamics, and it is AR enabled. Those are the physics elements created for ARKit. And the last thing is ECS. So this image is not big enough, but there's also another bigger image. I can just go over this real quick. So we start with the AR view, right? So we start with an AR view, and the AR view will be placed onto your storyboard. And we want to assign a scene to the AR view. So the stuff that we just saw, this one we want to have a face anchor. The other scene, we want to have a horizontal anchor. And this scene, we want to have an image anchor. And you can kind of see the image entities, the anchor entities. And within each anchor entity, we have the different other entities. So we have the different 3D models, different animations, and all that stuff. So we talked about objects. We talked about reality. And we talked about augmented. So if we combine just all of those together, we have like an AR experience or an AR app that we're building, right? So we start with a physical object or a physical environment. We have the table right there. I want to use ARKit to understand the scene, right? And we use Reality Composer. We created the virtual objects. And we use Reality Kit to combine the scene that we understand it from ARKit, and we combine that with the virtual objects we created in Reality Composer. By using Reality Kit, we're able to build the environments and the experience. So that's an overview of how this thing, all of them kind of works together. So that's augmented reality for iOS. Any questions so far?
What's the full name of ECS again?
Okay, so ECS is Entity Component System. Yeah.
So with the composer that you showed, it's like the very first demo you showed was the composer, right? And it seems the composer can already scan object and then create an anchor and stuff. So those are like a built-in, like basically like a program-in-play thing that you can just create your app.
Yes. So this is like part of the entity component system, right? So we talked about the anchor entity that's you're referring to. So those anchors are actually built into the Reality Kit, as well as it's also built into ARKit, and you can use it in Xcode. So usually, when we think about it, of course you can still create your own entity, but for the horizontal, vertical, face, image, and object, those are the most common use cases for the anchors. So Apple has just very handily created all these anchors for you, so you don't have to code everything from scratch all over again, because that requires lots of time. And this one is just super easy for you to implement and everything.
Okay, so basically Reality Composer is like beginners who want to just build simple preview template and then assign objects or virtual
Right, exactly, yeah.
And then the AR kit and the Reality Kit are for like programming based to customize those.
Right. Yeah. So RealityKit is not RealityKit. Reality Composer is only used for building the 3D objects and the experience associated with the objects. So you can have, so the stuff we saw, the physics, right? So the balls falling onto the plank and that thing, as well as the balls and the anchors, that is just one experience. But usually what people want to do is that they not only want to have those 3 objects, they want to have other specialties. So I know I talked about behaviors in Reality Composer, but we haven't quite touched on that one yet. I'm going to show another demo in the programming part. You can kind of see how you can basically create super simple programming stuff within Reality Composer and how you can implement those behaviors into an Xcode project. Yeah, and okay, so that is augmented reality programming. I have this fancy background just to show how excited we are for programming, because we're essentially still computer science students. So we talked about this. So the ECS system, right? So we have the AR view. Under view, we have the scene. And so for each scene, we have a different anchor. And under a different anchor, we have all the entities and stuff. So let's talk about AR view first. AR view is super easy. You guys understand, you guys all have taken 214 classes before, so all of you guys know what a view is basically, right? So you have AR view, you have table view, you have, someone reminds me of another view. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So all the views, AR view is just one of those. And what it does, basically, it just renders the 3D graphics and show it to the user. Because even if you build all the experiences and everything, if you don't have an AR view, you cannot show it onto the screen. So this is like a bigger image of the stuff we talked about. So we talked about AR view, and the next part is entity. So what does an entity do? Entities are the 3D objects, or the 3D experiences, combined with their physics, their materials, and other stuff, and eventually what we will see in the entire system. So it can have so it does the most basic entity. Transform component and synchronization components, the sort of stuff that it can do. Anchors will have the anchoring component and model entity. Just don't worry about this for now. That one has some more features added to it, but we'll not be demoing that for today. And the anchors, we also looked into that, right? So we have 5 different anchors built into Reality Composer and ARKit. And this one is the horizontal. So we have the horizontal platform, the environment, we have the anchor. I'm going to put more entities onto the anchor. So it turns out that this is extremely, extremely easy to implement if you're using Swift, right? So what we start with a view controller, and we have an IB outlet with an AR view. And inside view.load, we have an anchor. We can create one anchor. That anchor equals anchor entity, which plane? The plane will be horizontal, right? And we have the anchor, we have the view. What we're going to do, we're going to add the anchor to the view. So arview.scene.add_anchor, this anchor. And the last thing is the models for the entities that we want to add to the anchors, right? So let flyer equals try entity.load model named flyer. This one is the model that we want to add to, and want to add this entity to the anchor. So from top to bottom, AR view, scene, anchor, entity, right? So this one is like super easy. We have the entity, we would add the entity to the anchor. We have the anchor, we add the anchor to the view, right? So any questions with that so far? No? Okay, perfect. So code demo. So before we touch any code, I want to jump back to Reality Composer real quick. Now I'm going to show you guys what a behavior does. So this one you guys don't have. I didn't send you guys the model, so I'm just gonna open a new thing, you can kind of see I have an RC project called Tiny Toy Tank. And, okay, that's fine. So I have a toy tank right here, right? So you can kind of see if I tap on the toy tank, you can see it's consisted of two parts. The bottom part with the wheels and the base, as well as the top part with the cannon, like a turret, excuse me. So what I want to do is that I want not only to have this 3D object, this 3D animation, 3D object, I also want to add more stuff to it. So for instance, I want to drive the tank, and I want to shoot people. I want to shoot something with the tank. So what I can do, right? So the first thing, usually how we operate a tank, the tank can go front and back, right? And the turret, the cannon on the top, that thing, probably we can rotate the thing, right? So if it would be very nice if we can add like a behavior to it so that we can press one button and then rotate the cannon on the top. That would be pretty sick. So it's very doable. It's very easy for you to do. This is the thing that we're going to mention. It's called behavior. So you can kind of see this little button right here. That one is behavior. As you can see, we already have lots of behaviors added here, but I'm just going to create a new one. And when you add a behavior, you can kind of see there are lots of things that you can do. For instance, you can tap and flip. You can tap and play sound. You can tap and add force, start, hidden, wait and show, proximity and jiggle, and custom. Just, for instance, just showing. For instance, I want to do tap and play sound. So if I tap, so now you can see there's a trigger and there is an action sequence. So the trigger is going to be how this behavior will be activated. And the action sequence is what you're going to do after this thing is triggered. So the first thing, trigger, this one is tap, right? So I'm just going to select the affected objects to be the cannon, the turret. I'm going to click done. So after I tap on the cannon part, I want to play a sound. So for instance, if I want to, that's not fun. I'm going to find a fun one. Sure. Okay. Or seagull call. Okay. So now if I hit play, if I hit AR, I'm going to place it into the AR scene first and hit play. So now if I tap, okay, it's supposed to work. Anyway, okay, let me demo another one. This thing is not working. It should be working though. Oh, see? It's not selected as an affected object. So I want to select the turret and done, and then I hit play again. And when I tap the cannon, it will make a sound, right? I know you can't quite hear, so here's another one. I can add another action sequence to the thing. So for instance, if I want to, for instance, like emphasize, how about that? So if I want to emphasize, after I tap on the cannon, I will have a pop, or I'll have like a flip motion type. So it's not going to last for 1 second, and it's going to be the same thing as the cannon. So now if I hit play, and if I tap the top off the cannon, it's going to flip and it's going to play the sound. Right? Kind of, yeah. So this is like a super easy thing for you to add to the behaviors. So now I'm going to go back to what we discussed. So I want to drive the tank, right? So I want to have one behavior that moves the tank, and then turn and then rotate the cannon on the top. So I'm going to add new behavior, and I'm going to do custom, because this one is not just tap and flip or anything. This one we want to, for instance, like when we're looking, eventually the project, what we're going to build is that we're going to import this thing into Xcode, and we want to tap a button on our screen, and the button will make the cannon go forward, and probably also another button for the cannon to rotate. So right now we want to create custom, and you can see add trigger to the behavior and add an action to the sequence. I'm going to first add a trigger. A trigger this time will be a notification. So after you click on notification, you can see there is an identifier. this is basically how you're going to trigger the thing after you press a button in your Xcode project. So for instance, I'm just going to call this one, for instance, want to move forward, right? So I'm just going to call it forward tank. And add this action to it. So if this is forward, I want to move the thing. So I want to choose the objects. Oh, you can kind of see you can only select one. So there's going to be some bug. And I'm just going to move the bottom part and act. And I'm going to select. Easing these out. I don't want easing these out. None. I just want the thing to move. So right now, I'm gonna select it to 100. So that's going to be a meter, right? That's the position. Hold up. Object. Rotation scale. I wonder where it is. Modify toward action complete. Custom modification can far emphasize. Oh, it's going the other way. Okay. So you can kind of see it's working, right? So after I have the notification, after the trigger, the thing will the tank will move to X direction for a meter. If I wanted it to move forward, so I'm going to change this to back to 0, and that is blue. Which one is blue? Blue is Z. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna change Z to like 100 centimeters, and now if I hit play, the tank will go forward, right? So this is forward tank. I'm going to add another one, super simple. I'm going to add a cannon fire. So it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to add a notification as the trigger. And I'm going to change identifier to cannon fired. I'm going to add the just an action, just for instance, just the emphasize. I'm going to tap on the top part, not this one, done. Duration 1 second. I'm going to pop or bounce. Will this bounce? Sure. Bounce looks, this looks like the motion after you fire a cannon, right? Sorta. There's some other ones. Let's blink. Oh, this is not fun. I'll just do bounce. And oh, totally forgot. After this thing, after you added the after you have the emphasize and everything, you want to notify. So you want to notify the system that you're done with the with the behavior. So you want to go add action and notify, and this one is, for example, just call it action done. So this is how you can kind of see over there. Action will notify your application code using the name above when it occurs. So when the behavior is completed, it will notify the system, say, hey, action is done. So now the system will know this thing is completed. So this is how you add some simple behaviors. You guys will be implementing more behaviors in your AR in your AR assignment. So I'm just gonna close this one and go back to computer. So I'm gonna open up Xcode, and I'm going to create a new project and choose a template. I'm gonna select augmented reality app and call it test 3.2. And interface we want storyboard. It's just easier for this demo. Language Swift, ReadyKit, and I'm gonna place it here. It's pretty tiny, is it? You guys can't see from the back? Okay, I'm gonna... Okay, hopefully this thing will work. Is it bigger now in the back? Does it help? It's fine. The video also the recording will be posted to Blackboard as well. So I'm gonna create a new window with the storyboard, and because I'm using an iPad, so I'm gonna switch this to iPad. iPad 11. So you can kind of see after we created an AR AR project, it is like an AR view is added to our storyboard automatically. So this is super helpful. But we also know that we not only want to have an AR view, we want to add more buttons to it, right? So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new view to the project. Scroll down. And this view will contain the AR view as well as all the other stuff we're going to have. So now you can kind of see, the AR view is gone. It's replaced by a view. So now I'm going to add the AR view back. AR view, I'm going to place it over here. I want to scale it, bless you. Scale it the same size as my screen. And now the AR view will cover the entire screen. And I want to add some buttons to trigger the event, right? So I want the tank to move forward. I also want to have another button to trigger the behavior to rotate the cannon. So I'm going to, I have created some images as well. So I'm going to add these images to my assets so I can use them for the icons. And let's switch this back to main storyboard. And I have the first button right here. I'm just gonna copy paste, have another button on the right, the same location. And the first one, I'm gonna replace it with cannon fire. And the other button, I wanna replace it with image or tank forward. How about that? Right? So now let's take a look at the code that we have on the left. So first thing, we're going to create an AR view, right? So I created this AR view. The system already created the AR view for us, but it's because we got rid of the previous one. It's not linked to it's not linked to the AR view we have right now. So I'm just gonna link this to over here, and we'll have to create two outlets for the new buttons. So this one is going to be fire button. Connect, and another one for forward button. And now it's created, and I want to add actions to it, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to drag this over there. I'm going to have action. Actually, this should go inside. Can you see? Yep. Let's go action, and this one is going to be fire pressed. This is going to be the action, and the same thing for forward. Nope, that was a mistake. Forward pressed. I think I did something wrong here. Let me just do that one more time. I want an action, that's why. So I want this one to be forward pressed. You don't have to use storyboard, you can also use Swift. But I just feel like storyboard is easier for you guys to, for the demo, but also for you guys to just code everything. So when the forward is pressed, right? So we want to do, let's start from the beginning. So remember the system, the ECS, we have the AR view, we have the scene, we have the anchor, and we have the entities. Now we have the AR view. So now let's also create we have the AR view right now. So let's create an anchor. So let's just var tank anchor, and this one is going to be connected to tiny toy tank. I have to import tiny toy tank first. So I'm going to I have this RC project right here, so I'm gonna drag it over here. Gonna finish. So this tank anchor is we'll be using the RC project, the tiny toy tank. So I'm just gonna tiny toy tank dot tiny toy tank and make it here. So hopefully perfect. The errors went away. Now after we have created the anchor, right? So now we're gonna have the entities. So let's go down to view did load. I'm just gonna get rid of the original box anchors and all the stuff that they have right here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to assign the RC project to the anchor. So for the entity, assign the entity to the anchor. So what I'm going to do is going to tank anchor equals say, see my notes, try tiny toy tank dot load. Perfect. And add the box anchor to the scene. The last one, I'm going to AR view dot scene dot append. There's the append dot anchors dot append, and we're going to append the tank anchor. All right. So we created the AR view, we created the tank anchor, and we assigned the entity to the anchor, and we assigned the anchor to the AR view. So this is pretty straightforward. And so now if I just plug in my iPad over here, I'm going to test it out. And I'm going to select an iPad. I'm going to run. I'm also going to turn on screen mirroring. So hopefully this will load. Okay, let me take a look. What's wrong? Or is it just slow? Oh, iPad's busy. Oh, this is gonna take a few seconds probably. So right now, the buttons are not assigned to any of the behaviors that we created. It's just merely placing the entity to the anchor and the anchor to the scene to the AR view. So right now, if I open the app, it will probably just only show us the experience, so we can see the tank, but we cannot do anything with it. And I don't know why this thing is so slow. Oh, never mind. Okay, now if I switch back to my iPad, you can see test 3.2 is loaded over here. And now when it's open, oh God, please don't break. Okay, I'm gonna close this and open it again. So the problem I'm thinking right now is probably the AR view is not connected correctly, because right now there is nothing on the screen. It's not even showing the AR view image. So I'm just gonna stop mirroring, go back here. Oh, you can kind of see there's a problem right here. So I'm just gonna go back to my view controllers and get rid of this line. And I'm going to create this one manually again. It's going to be AR view. And so let's try this again. Oh. And let's see. Oh, okay. Good thing I have a backup project. So I'm gonna open test 2. This one is working. So I'm gonna open. Okay, so this one is going to work. Actually, you know what? I already have this one loaded on my iPad last night. So if I... Oh, it's not there. Okay, never mind. Yeah, shut up. Okay. I have another backup project. Test 1. Okay. This one's going to work, I promise. Actually, you know what? I already have test 1 on my iPad. So I can just pull it up and open it. So you can kind of see right now, this is, of course, this is like the final project. So, but before, for the previous demo, what we have around here is that we're going to only have the AR view. We have the anchor set up correctly, so it's horizontal, and we have the entity assigned to the anchor, so you can see the tank and everything. So right now, of course, this one is all the codes are completed. So if I press the button, it's gonna do something, but I'm not gonna show you that real quick. I'm just gonna jump back to the code, and basically what we did here in order for the buttons to work is that we have this button assigned here, right? We have one button that says fire button, and you can also see the action is created over here. So when this button is pressed, what it's going to do is that there is a thing called tank anchor.notifications. Notifications are the do you remember the notification, the triggers that we set up previously in Reality Composer for the different behaviors? So that one is the one we're referring to. .cannon fire, that is the identifier from Reality Composer, and .post. So that's all you need to trigger the behaviors that we added in Reality Composer. So now if I click on this button, it will basically going to run the behavior. Which behavior? The cannon fire behavior. So I can just copy and paste this one real quick. Fire button. I'm going to drag it over here. And I'm going to change the image to I guess also cannon fire. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to create another action just for this button specifically. I'm going to call this one forward pressed. And I'm going to do the same thing. But this time I'm going to add a different behavior. So I'm going to tank anchor dot notification dot tank forward dot post. Right? So this time if I run, oh, I totally forgot about this one. Please select the available device or choose a simulated device as the destination. Oh, it's not selected over here. Okay. I want to select iPad. I want to run. And now I can see I have two buttons over here. AR view is going to load. If I tap the first button, we have the fire behavior, so the cannon will jump. And the second button is the one that we added for forward. So if I press this button, where'd it go? It goes over there, right? So the tank went over there. But there's a problem with that, is that the cannon still stays at the same location. So that's something you guys will probably figure out when you are doing the AR assignment. So the buttons work. This one is jump. The other one is move forward. Oh, it moved over there. You can go even further. Bye. Okay. So that is all for the programming demo. And that is all for the AR assignment project. So and yeah, we're running good on time. We have 5 minutes before class ends. So if anyone has any problems, I can answer here. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we are going to send out the assignment description about AR mini project soon. So I just need to double check with Haochen, but hopefully by tomorrow yeah, so we're going to post